Now that you know how to create a new workbook, let's focus on worksheets. A worksheet contains a collection of cells to house and manipulate your data. Every workbook contains at least one worksheet by default. Worksheets are denoted by tabs at the bottom of your workbook. You can create multiple worksheets to help organize your data, making it easier to find your information. In this module, you will learn how to rename, insert, copy, and move your worksheet. Opening a blank workbook has one worksheet by default and is named Sheet 1 as seen on our screen here. For this module, we're going to create a workbook for our monthly expense reports. So we are going to create various worksheets for each month and one for our yearly report. We've already set up our first report for January. First thing we're going to do is rename the worksheet to January, because once we start adding our multiple months, naming the worksheets by the month will make it easier to find them. There are two ways that you can rename a worksheet. The first way is by double-clicking on it and entering the new name of the worksheet. Once you enter the name, hit enter and it will accept it. The second way is to do a right-click on the worksheet and click rename. Type in the name and press enter. Both ways will rename the worksheet for you. Now at this point we're ready to do our February expenses. So in order to create a new worksheet, we need to click on the plus. Once we do that, it's going to create a blank worksheet for us, and it'll give it a default name, such as this one, Sheet 2. This will be our February worksheet. So we're going to go ahead and do a right click on it, rename it. Now at this point we could manually enter in the information for it, or come over here, highlight all of our information, do a right click, copy, and paste it, and then clean up everything and make it look nice. Now the easier way to do that is to copy a worksheet. So in order to copy a worksheet, highlight it, do a right click on it, and select copy or move. Once you do that, it's going to take you into the copy or move dialog box. Now from here we have a couple options to choose. First, we want to tell it where we want to locate it. Now we want it after the January sheet because we're going in monthly order, January, February, and we don't want to move it, so we're going to click the box to create a copy. Once we do that, we're going to say OK. And now we've got our second January. Now because we copied it, it's going to put a 2 next to it because you can't have two worksheets with the same name. So at this point, we're going to want to rename this one. But before we do that, let's come over to the February that we created and let's delete it. To delete a worksheet, do a right click on it and select delete. Now because you're actually removing information from your workbook, Excel is going to prompt you with a question to make sure that you definitely want to delete it. Microsoft will ask you, are you sure you want to delete the sheet, and do you want to continue? Yes, we want to delete it, so we're going to say delete. Once we do that, you'll notice that we're stuck with our two Januaries. The February that we had copied over before is now gone. So now we can rename this. And we've got our February. We want to go ahead and create another one for our March. So we're going to do a right click, copy and move, copy. Now you'll notice I didn't tell it where to move it to. So what we want to do now is we want to move it to its location. In order to move a spreadsheet to a different location within the tabs, click on it and drag it. Now you'll see when you do that, you get a little piece of paper that's telling you what you're moving, and you'll see you've got a little arrow above that denotes where it'll be once you drop it or release the mouse. So we want it at the end, so we've moved all the way to the end, release it, and it moves it. Now let's go ahead and rename this one. You'll notice that we've got 3 of them out here now. Now it's easy enough to see the differences, January, February, March, but you may want to, as you're adding more of them, denote quarters so that you can see the quarters quickly. You can do this by changing the color of the tabs. Makes it a little bit easier when you're looking through them quickly to denote different information based upon the colors. So in order to do that, We're going to click on one of the tabs, do a right click, and click Color tab. Now from here we can choose any color that we want. Let's go ahead and make January an orange color. We're going to do it by month in this example, so we're going to click on February now, do a right click, and choose a color for its tab. Let's go with green for that one. You'll notice how the color changes when you select it. It's the full color when it's not selected, and as soon as you select it, it goes to a lighter shaded color in the background, denoting which tab that you have actually selected. Let's go ahead and create our April spreadsheet at this time. We're going to base it upon our March. So we're going to do a right click, copy or move. We're going to create a copy. Now again, I'm not going to move it because I want to show you another way that you can move your worksheets around. So we're going to go ahead and let it go before the January one. I'm going to say OK. We've got our March over here. Let's first rename it to April. Now we know we can click on it and hold down our mouse clicker and drag it to its new location, but another way you can move it is by doing a right click and choosing Move or Copy. We are not going to click the Create Copy because all we want to do is move this spreadsheet. So we're going to tell it to move it to the end. Say OK, and now you'll see that our April has been moved to the end. We've now gone over the various ways that you can manipulate the worksheets within your workbook. You can rename them, you can insert, you can delete, copy, and move.